It is time to get this car back on the road. I have 2 more things to make this car roadworthy. So first things first, the battery is really old and it's just kind of too drained to recover. So I'm switching out to an Odyssey PC 680 battery, and with the Checkerd Sports tie down. I'm going to show you guys that now. I'm excited to switch out because as you can see, I have this really ugly box and this big battery in the back of my car, and now I get to really pare that down to something more manageable. The next thing we need to do then after that is delete my idle air control valve, because that is giving me issues with running the car because I'm on OBD1 and the idle air control valve doesn't want to work because of the 3-wire issue. I need to move to a 2-wire if I were to keep the idle air control valve, or I could just delete it. So since I'm living in Florida, since the idle air control valve isn't a big deal isn't needed for racing, I'm not going to be driving this very much on the street at all. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to put a block off plate completely on that side of the throttle body, and we're going to get this thing back on the road. This is my old battery setup. Check the card in the corner to see how I installed this and moved the battery from the engine bay to the back. Obviously, this is a very bulky setup using a stock battery, which is right here next to it. I pulled it out because I'm about to remove everything, and I just got sick of looking at this. Obviously, it's very bulky. This is kind of a marine boat setup for a battery that I kind of jerry-rigged into this whole setup. It worked fine. I did a lot of track days on it, but I've been dreaming about doing the Odyssey switch for some time. So I'm going to go ahead and mount the battery like this, laying flat, because you can mount the Odyssey batteries however you'd like, and they can lay flat compared to regular batteries. Then I'm going to use the Checkerd Sports tie down, which will mount like this and mount the battery to the floor. So I think that setup is going to be really good. I'm really pumped on that, and you can see just how much more compact this whole setup is. The weight is lower in the body of the car. It's not kind of sitting up tall, and it's just less weight altogether. I need to prep the area so I can do some riv nuts here and then just mount the battery. So the original battery and the box setup that I had is 29 pounds. The Checkerd Sports setup is probably around 15 because I don't really know what this weighs. The scale won't even register the tie down itself, but it is very light aluminum. So the total weight savings is going to be 14 pounds. So basically the whole of the old setup weighs 2 of the Odyssey battery. So it's definitely going to be a good weight savings for sure. Okay, so we got the brackets out that I used before. Gonna vacuum up all this stuff. I want to mount this. I was thinking center it, but there's not a lot of flat spots in this car, so I think it's gonna have to be around here, but I may want to move it slightly towards the passenger side. Then it starts to get a little bit wonky. So I'm going to use a heat gun and get some of this sound deadening off. I might just do it there. I'll probably just get the sound deadening off where I need to drill these holes. And yeah, that sounds good. I did cut a channel into the sound deadening, and this will mount, I think, just fine like that. I cut another side in. But I want to clean up this area. Since I'm putting a nice piece down, a nice battery, why not kind of go a little bit the extra mile, and I'll remove the whole sound deadening piece from here. Obviously, I know there's more sound deadening that looks kind of terrible, but I'm not into doing that at the moment. So I still just want to get racing. So I'll do a little bit here and there to make it kind of cool looking, but maybe we'll get to the sound deadening another day if I feel like doing that. So I'm going to move over to a new project while I put some gasket remover on the area where I pulled up the sound deadening so that I can kind of pull up any kind of sticky residue. And so I'm going to start on my idle air control valve delete. So this is my throttle body and my intake. I got lazy, so I just pulled it all off. I'm going to take some steel I purchased. I'm going to cut a plate the size of that and drill some holes and screw it down. I'm gonna put some gasket maker, I think, around it, some Honda Bond. I'm hoping that will be sufficient to block off this area where the idle air control valve would go. Pro tip, gasket remover removes this sticky sludge really well. It's pretty hardcore stuff, so make sure you're in a well ventilated area, but like, whoa, that's great. That came out really good, way better than I thought. Gasket remover is definitely the way to go to really clean up most of the particles of stickiness from that stuff. There is a little bit of a couple spots, but not too worried about it. I'm gonna shoot some of this Krylon metallic silver. This is actually very, very close to the actual OEM paint code Vogue metallic silver. I've used it before a bunch of times, and it really is as close as you can get for being so cheap. So I'm gonna use that just to kind of give it a light coat so it doesn't stick out so much. Maybe get some of these other areas in the general wheel well here. Then I can get to mounting the bracket. Or I may actually drill the holes first, then paint. That sounds good. I made my plates, my block off plate. Let's hope the holes line up. So here is my block off plate. I think it came out like I expected. This is just a 1/16 inch sheet of steel that I cut to the size of this plate where the IACV goes. You will probably need some new hardware because the bolts are obviously too long because the IACV is pretty thick. This was pretty thin. So I found some bolts that work. Think that should be good. I used some Honda Bond to hopefully seal the area because you will have a vacuum leak from this if you were to just not take some care. I did leave the gasket in there, so I do think that should help seal that area as well with the pressure of the plate on top of it. But the Honda Bond is just kind of some insurance on that. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good for what it is, and hopefully it does its intended purpose. Here it is painted. Looks pretty good to me. It's definitely not perfect. Looks good enough, way better than it did. Now we're going to install some riv nuts so we have some place to bolt down the bracket from Checkerd Sports. So basically a riv nut, if you've never seen one, this is a little device it comes with. It's a kit, and then this is the riv nut. Basically, it gives you a threaded hole to put bolts in. So you take this, screw it on to the tool, put your tool in the hole, and then push like that, and it forces its way into the metal. And then you turn your little thingy, and you have a nice threaded hole. So I'll do the rest and we'll get this thing bolted up. nice little holes. My Odyssey battery I bought from Checkerd Sports along with the bracket to mount it. You can choose to get the standard OE spec terminals. So we have to install those. So you need to use an Allen key to basically thread this guy in there. And there we go. Next, we just get the battery in place here, roughly. And then we'll get the bracket on. All mounted up, ready to go. I think it looks really good. Very secure, which obviously is necessary. You can't have loose batteries at the track. It's very dangerous. So yeah, once I get everything done with the throttle body and the computer, I can attach the wires and we'll be good to go. To run no idle air control valve, you need a chipped ECU. I did not have them do this when I purchased the ECU, so I talked to Advanced Technician and they sent me a new chip, which I just installed in here. So this chip, and car should be good to go. ECU is all set up. I had taken the fake carbon fiber sticker that was off, but there's a basically open hole. So what better way to cover that than a nice refined movement sticker? So that looks pretty cool. I like the kind of raw finish anyway. And so you won't see it. So I'm gonna stick this back in and we'll be hopefully turning this car on soon. To finish up the IACV delete, there's two coolant lines that run into the control valve. So those help warm up the intake quicker. I don't really want that for racing. I don't really need it much in Florida either. I have to do something with these coolant lines. There's one here right above the thermostat that goes right off the intake. And then there is that guy right there, and he's underneath the intake where there's a water pipe and there's a bung coming off of it. That's really an OBD2 engine type thing. I think Rob's Z6 doesn't have that bung coming off. I'm gonna plug these with actual plugs, or you could loop the line from here down to the water pipe, from the thermostat area to the water pipe. So I'm actually going to just plug them with some plugs I got from HPS. I think they should hold pretty well. We'll give it a go. I have some plugs as well from my heater core that I plugged off. They haven't had any leaks or anything yet, but obviously I haven't driven the car. So we'll see if this is a solution that actually works, because I don't want to have a lot of extra hoses in the bay if I don't need them. Plug these up. The tests. We are finally going to start this car, and I think, please, should be good. I just finished the battery install. I flipped it over so the terminals were in the right area, and then this is the first test of the deleted idle air control valve plate that I made. That's totally custom by me. I'm hoping that's a good solution to this. I have the chipped ECU that's changed. It deleted the IACV, so I'm going to see how it runs. I'm going to see what I have to adjust. I have to make sure the idle is kind of high, around 1,000, and I'll have to change the timing. I would check the timing. I don't know what it is right now, so just hoping this car runs and works. Let's go. Take it for a drive. Car is timed. I think the idle's okay. It's a little weird. Let's do this. Holy crap. So am I actually going to drive this car? It's been 15 months. Sorry about the camera angle. It's probably going to get really shaky. When I do a real good first drive, I will set up my GoPro or something. But it's pretty late, 9:20. Car's been running since 8:45, so I'm pretty confident that it's okay. I have to drive it, even if it's just around my neighborhood, just to see what happens. See if I remember how to drive stick.